Okay, hi everybody. I'm in a different position this morning. This is our closing session, so welcome. And today we're going to be joined by Francis Zhu and David Hoffmeister. And to start, Linda and I are going to sing a song together called May It Be by Enya.
I need a sec. May it be an evening star shines down upon you. May it be when darkness falls, your heart will be true. You walk a lonely road, but you are not far from home. Morning, you truly believe, and you will find your way. Morning, Atlantic, a promise lives within you now. May it be the shadows call, will fly away. May it be your journey on to light the day. When the night is overcome, you may rise to find the sun. Morning, you truly believe, and you will find your way. Morning, Atlantic, a promise lives within you now. A promise lives within you now.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a delicious way to start. That was beautiful. So beautiful. Welcome everyone. Happy to see you all for our closing session here on mysticism. it's kind of funny, even closing session on mysticism, because to us it's just our life. So it doesn't really have a beginning or an end. It just goes on and on and on in a joyful and restful and reverent way, like the emotion that came through that song. Yeah, beautiful. And Enya's song, done with just such presence and grace. So, well, I'm happy to have Frances here with me.
Yeah. Just feel so happy to just be here, because I feel like really this moment is to just behold the Spirit in our mind and tap into this happiness and extend this happiness to absolutely everything. And that is how we can make something so complicated in this world. Even when the ego interprets this journey of healing, it can sound so complicated. And when it comes down to the practical application, this is where everything becomes simple. When we analyze and trying to analyze the problem and the ego world, it is an impossible task. And then when we come back to practicality, to what matters, which is this moment, then the practicality or the practice actually is so simple. Just behold the truth. Let our mind choose the truth, choose the Spirit in this very moment, which we do have the power to make that choice. But it does take that we vigilantly turn away from the thoughts of this world. Let's take that.
Yeah, I was talking on Friday night about the involuntary nature of miracles, that miracles are involuntary and should not be under conscious control. And that was the keynote of what mysticism is, where there's no pre-planning, there's no pre-thought. You're more just observing everything, and it's not a timeline experience. It's a very momentary experience. There's such contentment and really just rest in the moment. And so you've gone from asking for guidance to help you with specific problems and issues, which the guidance will give you answers. And if you're ready and you're not afraid of them, it will give you specific answers that will help you unwind from things. But then in the end, to the mystic, there's such a devotion to God and in the moment that the identification with the things of this world disappears. So for most of you, if you seem to be part of a partnership or a family, then from time to time you have thoughts like, well, what will this mean to my partner, or how will my partner react, or how will a family member react? But in mysticism, those disappear too. You don't have thoughts about anybody. You really are releasing all body thoughts. And Jesus says, don't raise body thoughts to the level of mind. He just means, give them to me. Put all your thoughts about bodies under my control. So if there's someone you're supposed to call, then I'll tell you. And I'll speak through you and do the talking. Can't get any easier than that. Be told who you're to contact and what you're to say. If there's something to do, then again, he says, I'll do it through you. It can't be difficult, Jesus has in the Course, it cannot be difficult to do the task that Christ appointed you to do, for it is He who does it. And that's another good quote about the involuntary nature of miracles, where you give your mind permission just to let go of being in charge, of trying to be the person who has to figure everything out, the person who has to meet all the the physical needs and all the emotional needs, not only of the person that seems to be you, but of partners and children. It's very straining for the mind to take responsibility for things that it actually has no responsibility over at all. And Jesus tells us, the reason you feel stress is because you've taken on false responsibilities based on false egoic concepts that you believe to be real. But when you go for atonement, you ease back into your heart. You relax into the stillness of a quiet mind that is not concerned about outcomes. You know, it's like you're watching a prearranged script, but you're watching it from a very much of an observer or simultaneous perspective, and that's where the peace is. And the peace isn't to be found on the timeline. The peace is to be found in the observation of it and the feeling of connection with it, at one with everything. So, one of the things Francis and I were talking about, thank you for all your prayers, so many beautiful prayers that came in and questions of unwinding. But one of the things that came in to us was, here it is on the final day of our mysticism retreat, Life of Mysticism, is just to talk a bit about the mystic community. I would say the mystic community of the mind, because as we're joining here on Zoom, it's obvious we've all got our own little box, a little rectangle, our rectangle presentation to the world. Like, it's about the size of postcards. I'm seeing a bunch of digital postcards when I look at the screen, but we're connected in the heart, we're connected in the mind, we're connected in the joy, in the laughter, we're connected in the happiness, and nothing can change that. Nothing can take that away. And so for us, when we talk about community, we're not talking about the physicality of things, we're really talking about a clear, clean, open mind and a state of contentment and happiness.
Mm-hmm. And also the community is, if you really think about it in the matter of form, I always see it as an answer or a symbol that is given. And I like the word given a lot because I feel this journey, one thing that I can really relax about is that absolutely every single step was given to me without premeditating on how it's going to look, what it's going to look, and who are going to be the companions in my life. And it's absolutely given, one step at a time. And that's what I see, that the community was given when there was a calling to go deeper with God and to really practice this total transparency and being supported in that. So along the way, you know, there are different shifts and changes in terms of the form, but regardless, I always take great comfort in knowing I of myself did not choose this. This is absolutely given to me, and it just feels really comforting to me to know then who gives this to me. You know, if it is not of myself, it must be of the Spirit, and it is just calling for a trust, a present trust, to say, okay, then I will trust this. Let it be so, instead of, no, I want it my way. I wanted the love to look like my way. I wanted people to look my way. It's instead, oh, let it be so, because it must be chosen by the most loving Spirit that knows my best interest. And that's what we're thinking, that mystical community is the union of the mind, because that is where this path is heading to. There is no mystery about that. In the end, we are heading towards this recognition that there is no separate individuals, bodies. We are really joined in this experience. So all these symbols along the way are given to us to be more and more open to this realization. And even when David was talking yesterday about collaboration, that is absolutely another symbol that come in to say, along this journey of remembering, all these specific things will be given you. You will be led to express with the people that I send to you. You will be led to give to the people I select for you. You will be led to heal. You will be led to collaborate. And so now I think I would say the mystical community in the mind, in terms of symbols, actually even is shifting and growing in terms more like a digital shape and form. Everything can be achieved digitally. The kind of support, but still, the way we look at it is that this is a loving gift and a present that is offered at this given time, in the journey of healing. This is offered. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful to just witness it and watch it and be shown. It's like one of Eric's songs is called "Let Life Unfold." I always like the feel of that. Let life unfold. Like, just behold it. Just behold it. I remember too, I saw an interview one time where Paul McCartney was talking about the writing of the song "Let It Be." And he had a dream, and his mother was in the dream, and then it was so profound and it's so joyful and happy that when he woke up, he just sat down and grabbed a pencil and paper and started, "Let it be." Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. You can feel the softness and the relaxation and the lightness in that song and those lyrics and those tones. And there was an early student of the course who I was very inspired by. She passed away quite a few years ago, but in the 1980s, her name was Barbara Varley. And she and her partner Robert just practiced the course. They would get up at like 4 in the morning and read the Bible and the Lamsa Bible and the course. They would read for like hours before they would even start their day. And they were just very devotional. And I know one day they were guided to get harps, so neither of them played harps, but they were guided to get harps, and they traveled around with this van with these harps, and then Barbara, one day, she received this song, and that's kind of like our mystical community, the song she received. And the song goes, "I'm willing for my life to be a picture painted by Holy Spirit, painted by Holy Spirit." Imagine if you wake up in the morning and you just have that little tune going through your mind. I'm willing for my life to be a picture painted by Holy Spirit. It takes the personal context out of what's my to-do list and what do I have to do today, as part of my earth responsibilities. What must I achieve? What must I accomplish? The Holy Spirit doesn't think like that, because the Holy Spirit lives in the present moment. And the Holy Spirit's like saying, "Come and see with me. Let's look at this beautiful picture I have for you today, and come and watch with me. Just watch with me." That's really all it is. And then you start to feel more the involuntary nature, like things just seem to happen and occur, but there's no sense of personal ownership, personal control, personal stress that's tied in with viewing that beautiful picture that the Holy Spirit has for you. You can really feel the joy and the lightness of it. And then that goes beyond all of our conditioning, because all of our conditioning was about time, becoming a better person, achieving something in form, accomplishing something. And I think we're experiencing this mystical community as a state of grace. Like it's so wonderful just to behold things exactly as they are, instead of looking through an ego filter that is saying things should be different. I mean, what is judgment except the belief that things should be different than they are? What is this whole kind of work ethic thing that is so ingrained in our conditioning? It was a few days ago where we were doing, I think back on Tuesday, I was doing the Spanish show that we have now, The Heart of Mysticism, and with Marina and with Anna. And then Marina was talking to me, and at one point she just had such a joyful look on her face. And she said, you know, a couple years ago when I was living in Australia, I started to ponder the question, who invented work? Imagine that, you know. She just is in Australia and she starts thinking, who invented work? Where did this concept even start? And she really took it pretty deep, because then she started to think related thoughts, which was, I wonder if there's people in this world that don't work. You see how sweet it started out with who invented work, and then it moves into, I wonder if there's people in this world that don't work. And then she smiled and she said, and now look at my life, because she feels like she's in a state of joy and giving and extending, and that everything is effortlessly provided. But it doesn't have that reciprocal feeling, you know, which work does. Work always was, I'll do a service or I'll perform a duty or a task, and then I will receive pay in exchange for my work. So I think that's another quality of the mystical community, is it's like we're just living in a prayer. And it's a prayer of happiness, and it's a prayer of safety, and it's a prayer of vibrancy and joy, and it's like a song, like the song of prayer. That is our song. It's a very happy song, but it's no wonder it doesn't have the same kind of stresses, because it's freed up from those old ego beliefs and concepts that were actually very heavy, that were all part of a false identity.
Yeah, and when we come together, this becomes stronger, the witness that we show each other, because we are living in such a way that is not according to the laws of this world. You were talking before we started the session about Baker Eddy. It was like whoever had a glimpse of the reality and truly want to live from that place is considered very much insane, or just not really able to be understood by this world. But just when we come together, it is coming together according to a calling to live in such a way so that this truth can be shown, can be seen more and more clearly in our mind. Because by living it, this is how we learn, this is how we teach, is to actually live in such a way to testify this is absolutely true. You know, there is no convincing that is needed from this world, because I live in this law of God. So that is also a value I see why the Spirit really bring us together, because it is so comforting when we see each other's examples.
Yeah. And I love how Jesus just incorporates everything that we seem to do in our entire life. He just scoops them all up, and he takes every effort that we've made, he takes every skill that we've learned, he takes every ability that we have, and he just kind of gathers them together and scoops them up and says, now let's have a symphony of joy from this. As Francis and I have talked many times about how we had a lot of education, we worked different jobs, we had different careers and things came, houses and partners and all kinds of things, and still out of all that, Jesus just scoops them all together and says, let's extend a beautiful song of thanks to God for our spirit, for our true identity. And then the world, all the colors of the world, all the notes in music, it's like a symphony that's very harmonious, but it's just like a symphony that's playing for everyone, it's for the whole universe. And there's no sense of individuality, of holding on to something of me and mine, or trying to control a process, or trying to possess something. There's absolutely none of that in reality, so why would we think that the spiritual journey would lead us anywhere except relaxed and open and appreciating everyone and everything? That's like a natural experience for the love that we are, just to have full appreciation for everyone and everything. And that appreciation comes from receiving our identity from God and then giving that light away in our attitude. If you're singing a happy song in your heart, however it's playing out, whatever you seem to be doing or sharing, it's all just coming from that light. It's not coming from any personal effort. It's not coming from anything that you learned in the past. It's just coming from the light right now of our being. And it's just so abundant. The light is so abundant. That's why it's just generous, and we feel abundant and generous in it, because it's just we're tapped into being what we truly are and giving it away. But also there's no sense of concern for outcomes with that. You are letting life unfold, for sure.
Yeah. Even with miracles, I know that 2,000 years ago when Jesus, he was performing so many miracles, but it wasn't a conscious, it's like involuntary, because he was so in tune with God. Miracle is inevitable. Everywhere he goes, it's just like coming out of this total alignment. That's why sometimes he had to say, tell no one, because it's happening anyways, but he wants to focus on the message instead of the form, miracles. And this is how, I see as well as we go on this journey, the miracles are not something we can focus on in terms of, I will do this, I will hope that I have something, but it happens when our mind is in alignment. And everything that unfolded was, can be considered a miracle. Even the other day I was talking to someone in the community, and they were quoting David, and David said, well, maybe a miracle would show up as the next step. And I thought, wow, that's a beautiful way of saying even the steps are all unfolded as a miracle. So the steps are not, we try to make the next things happen. We want to do this, we want to make the next event happen. They're all unfolding as a miracle. Everything is unfolding as our mind become more and more anchored to the Spirit, to want to think for the Spirit, with the Spirit. Then these steps are unfolded. Even the centers in our community unfolded, they all have unfolded out of miracles. You can consider them as miracles. And even the digital direction unfolded is the same. They're miracles. It's not a personal effort.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I'll talk about the parable of David because it does just seem like a parable, like a little story or like a novel. Not that it is like an actuality, but it's just like if it's a symbol or a story that points to God, then it has a temporary value until there's no more stories and no more people. But the thing that's beautiful of it is it's not seeing things as things, because as soon as you see a house as a house instead of just a backdrop, this is, like I look around, I'm like, oh, it's a nice theater backdrop. And it's nice when you can look around at your apartment or house or condominium and see it as a theater backdrop, as like a stage, because it takes the weight off of it. There's no one, you don't have to think of yourself as the one who has to maintain it. That's the problem. The only problem with the house is believing that it has to be maintained and there's one that has to maintain it. But actually, when I traveled around, that's what Jesus was showing me during the early years of travel and then all these years of world travel, was I was like walking from one stage to the next. And people said, well, it must be nice to just follow the Spirit and be happy-go-lucky and just show up and shine your light and move on. And I said, yeah, it actually is very important, because it's loosened my mind from thinking I own things, I possess things, I have to maintain things. Even if you get an inner prompt to go and have the oil changed of your car, or the tire air pressure checked, or something cleaned, it's all about holy encounters. Ken always talks about us going out to fill a car with gas, or do something with the tires or whatever. Oh my gosh, the parables that come from just going out to shine your light, where you seem to have something that you're doing, but it's about the joy and the connection with all the people you meet and all the amazing characters that are part of your happy dream, when you don't want anything from the characters. It's like the spirits just having them show up for a blessing. And then you end up laughing together and joking and smiling. It's a soft encounter. There's not this pressure of the ego of, what am I going to get what I paid for? I've had more fun in restaurants when waitresses have spilled things or they look a little nervous or whatever, and I think, that's why I'm here, not for the food. I'm here to bring some joy to that waitress that looks a little nervous. Or when somebody, you're in line to pay for something with a cashier and somebody doesn't have the money, and you can say, oh, here, I'm just paying it forward. Here, I give this to you, no strings attached. And the look on their face like, thank you. Or when they drop their coins and you help them pick them up, and they're so nervous that they're holding up the line, and they look back at you and you're just smiling and bending over to help them pick the coins up, and they get a smile on their face. When your motive is giving, when you're just really looking to give love, then all the world becomes a happy dream, just because of the motive in your mind. And to the extent that you feel lacking, and therefore you're looking to the world to meet these imaginary needs, which you don't really have. They're just imaginary. They're make-believe. They're fictitious. They're egoic. Once you start to get into that mode of giving, you really have an experience that you have and are everything that you could ever want or need. And that's the third teaching, that's the third lesson of the Holy Spirit. What I having and being are the same. What I have is what I am. What I am is what I have. My identity is what I have and what I am. It's both. It's not a construct of a person who's wandering around in time and space in need, looking for scraps of love, scraps of affection, scraps of praise. You just think, that's a ridiculous parody of the Christ, to think so small of such a glorious being that God created, to think in terms of a parody of a human being. And yet Jesus says, here, just give my love away. You are my hands, you are my feet, you are my lips, you are my voice. Shine the good news, share the good news of innocence. Bless everyone and know that they're innocent. Or as Christoph shared with us this week, what a beautiful idea. Never correct a brother. One idea like that just radiated out like ripples of love, because it was a thought of giving. It was not a thought of changing somebody or changing something in the world, just accepting everything exactly as it is. It's so precious. Well, we could open it up. We love interacting with you, and we love to hear from you, and we love when you speak it up too, for us and for the whole universe. It's like you've got your megaphone of the mind, where you can just share anything and share whatever comes to your mind. And if you feel happy and joyful, we've had a lot of expressions of joy over this weekend. I just had ripples of witnesses saying what a wonderful session that was yesterday. It just seemed like one joyful expression after the next, and just lifting us all higher and higher, where it was like a merge of miracles, interfaith miracles, and across the globe miracles, and an absolute inclusivity of a happy welcoming and smile of everything that was shared. And wow, we all were like, ooh, singing a happy tune here. What a good way to spend the day, singing a happy tune. So I see some hands
I see it
lighting up. We love you. We see the digital hands lighting up. So do you see one that you'd like to go to?
I think there's Michael we haven't heard from, so we can start there.
Michael.
Morning.
There we go.
Hi, I called Kenneth yesterday. You told me to call Kenneth Price.
Yes.
So we had a wonderful talk. We talked about an hour, and I feel like I've met a brother. And sorry, my cat's getting in the way. Anyway, thank you so much. This is really wonderful, and I just want to thank you.
Wow.
So,
thank you, Michael.
He's totally committed to his spirituality, and I just feel so blessed in that. And being part of this is really wonderful. This morning, I got up and I meditated, and I felt some kind of force coming through, and I said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We're your peace angels." And I said, "Really?" and I said, "Well, what are you doing here? What do you have to say?" And they said, "Well, we want to show you the path to God. We're your pathway. So just follow us." And so I don't know. Anyway, I just felt really blessed, and I feel blessed to be part of this. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Michael. You're set. You've got peace angels and Kenneth, a mighty companion, and now you can just soar, just take off every day, wake up in joy to whatever's coming through and welcome it. So I'm so happy for you. That's a miracle. That just shows you how miracles are natural, and you're just in it now, and we're so grateful for you. We're so grateful. Maybe we could go to the Gemma.
Gemma.
Hola. No pensé que hubiera sitio.
I didn't think there was space for me to share. I'm a bit surprised. Really? I don't know what to share, but gratitude that I feel for everyone that I've heard this morning, the recording from yesterday, because with my European time zone, I cannot stay until the end because I fall asleep. So I listen to it in the morning, and I have very recorded in my mind every person, every sharing that you have done, and it's almost like what I am most grateful for, because it has reached me so much, and I have felt that I was also speaking there. It was like I was one with them, and at the same time it was like outside in their words I was listening what I needed to hear from myself, from this guidance that I needed. It was the guidance in themselves, and it's been very beautiful, because I've also woke up feeling very strange, uncertain. I'm doing the exercises and the lessons every day, doing the practices and the meditations, and some of them have surprised me or touched something inside. It's so drastic. I've been in Vedanta for many, many years, knowing that this is an illusion, but suddenly, even though I knew about A Course in Miracles before, almost 40 years ago, it was something suddenly felt like I had to be with them, take it back. And so now I've been following the Course again. And a lot further, that all the things that are happening, of course, because things are happening, with life and the ordinary life, but there's something very deep that's moving within me. There's something very deep, sometimes dark and sometimes very bright, but very, very bright. In the subway, for example, in any place, suddenly I just feel even with the world in general that I find myself in, I'm also very grateful for everything that everyone shared, because I recognize the value and the capacity to put words to all of it that I was feeling, that you felt, or we are all feeling. I am also a psychotherapist, and I know how hard it is sometimes to put words to what we're feeling, especially when it's very deep and when it's like an effect, like a current. It's not just one thing, but it's like the sensations, emotions, feelings, high emotions or very, very low, that are moving within us. But I also know that putting words to this is amazing, because we know what we have, and we know what we are not. If we can put words to it, we are not. We don't know what we are. And this morning I saw it very clearly, that really all these people, all this community that are here today, well, today and everywhere in the world, because this is quantum. There's no limits for this. This is something that's happening all the time now, and I feel it that way, and I'm so grateful, truly, even though I have those moments that, like, I don't know, it's because it's not me, I'm like peaceful, but it feels very strong. Very strong, very heavy, heavy. I feel less afraid here with all of you, to feel that it's all good and all is well. And thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Gemma. What a beautiful expression you have shared for all of us. That's so beautiful. Your face is lighting up the world. Thank you so much. Okay, you see.
Well, I was seeing Annabelle there.
Annabelle.
What you were saying earlier about life, or Francis was saying yesterday about complexities. Maybe it was at the beginning of this evening, and I think sometimes it feels like things are very complex, and then other times it feels like there's such simplicity. And I think when Peter and Linda were singing, it just I just kept hearing in my head, I've just had enough of this ego, because like the way just before they started singing and they were in the silence, and it looked like he was reaching out towards her, and there was just such a beautiful connection between them, and my heart just did a flip, because in my life, in my my relationship, it's just not that. It's not that. And I guess I've got so used to it being the way that it is. It's a sort of, it's almost become background, like that's just what it is and nothing else is possible. And then, just to behold such a beautiful connection, and just what came through them when they were singing together, I thought, oh, that's just so beautiful, and really, I guess, what I would want, and especially with two little boys. And when you were talking about Holy Spirit painting the picture every day, I'm in such a weird place at the moment, like thinking I've really had enough of this ego, and I've really had enough of it, and I'm praying a lot and to find a way out of it. And there are times when it's almost like I'm being lifted out of it, like a very powerful energy kind of fills my head and stops me in my tracks, and it feels like those are the opportunities and the moments to just give my thought processes and trains of thought to spirit. And I keep hearing, I'll take care of it, just stop what you're doing, just stop thinking. And sometimes I go with it and it feels really good, and then other times I'm not able to. And even just before coming in here, I've had a very I really wanted to catch up on you and Svava and Friday evening, and it took me all afternoon just to be able to watch an hour, because there were constant interruptions. And just before coming in here, I felt a bit like Luz, talking about her cockroach moment and all the work that she felt she'd done on herself. And I feel a bit the same. I feel so light and so inspired, and have such beautiful moments. Like yesterday, I sat there and I just thought, that the energy that I feel in my head, if I just sit here and say to you, Jesus, just hold my hands. And part of me was saying, don't be silly, that's just not going to happen. You're not going to feel him holding your hands. He's not just going to materialize in front of you. But as I sat and held up my hands, the same energy that was in my head was all around my hands and my arms. And there were so many beautiful kind of moments like that. And in the next minute, before coming here, both of my little guys have got sunburn from being in the pool yesterday, and I have a lot of blame towards their dad because he didn't put sun cream on them. And so I'm doing my best to slap sun cream on them before coming in here, and feeling so much grievance because I think I shouldn't be having to do this. He should be looking after them. I want to go and get into a nice space for joining with everybody. And then my eldest is saying he didn't want to wear a t-shirt over the sunburn. And like we were saying earlier, all that sense of responsibility for bodies was so strong. And then in the end, because I was going to be late, I just heard, like, it felt like Spirit saying, I'll take care of the sunburn. You don't have to think about the sunburn. And it felt like such a hard thing for me to just walk away from the situation. So I suppose what I'm saying is life feels quite difficult a lot of the time because of the situation that I'm in with their dad. And I have such contrasting moments, and I just wonder if you can say anything to help, to help me to keep following guidance and keep following Spirit rather than going down the usual path of what happened with the sunburn and so on. I wonder if you have any words of advice to help.
Thank you, Annabelle. Yeah, I'm reminded of Jesus is saying in the Course where he says, you don't ask for too much, you always ask for far too little. And how the Spirit wants us to experience the vastness of everything that we are. And the way we open to that is really the prayer of come to me, come through me, so that I can feel your presence in the midst of my everyday activities. Come, shower my mind, shower my heart with your presence, so I can be done through. And I think it was yesterday or the day before, Svava was saying, because she had two young boys that she raised, and it was every day was like an adventure. They would come to her with a great invitation to share what they were going to do. Oh, today, Mom, can we make a shop? We wanted to put all our toys and we want to play store. And she'd say, okay. So all the toys got rearranged on shelves and to play store, just the fun of playing store, even though there were no customers. And then, oh, can you come to the store? And so I know I've had so many interactions with children where it's the joy of make-believe in joining in something that feels very loving and connected, not so much depending on what the form is, but just the attitude of welcome of ideas, welcome of trying things out, welcome of experimenting and feeling the joy of experimenting versus just rules and regulations and have to and must do this and so forth. It's a very different experience. So I feel like that's what it is. And then as long as you see your partner as not fulfilling his needs or not supporting you or generating more problems that are just more obstacles while you're going about your work, then that is a call for forgiveness and for joining. We've had some people that have been on the call. What's the one from Colombia? Ruth, yeah. Where she said early on, I think on Friday, like, well, my husband's going to watch after my child and is going to help with the food and so on and so forth. And then yesterday, the same, I was saying, just have so much gratitude for that. But it has to start in our mind where we start to pray for what it is that would be helpful, and feel worthy. You are so worthy of everything. You know, you are worthy of a presence and of a spaciousness. When you could see Pete and Linda, and the way Pete was looking towards Linda, and the way that they were just used in presence together, that was the Spirit giving you that witness or the reflection of saying to you in your mind, you are worthy of this, Annabelle, you are so worthy of this. Don't sell yourself short. Don't think you are not worthy. Think you are completely, wholly worthy of that sense of care and connection, of presence, of things working out in a synchronized way where things fall into place, where things take care of themselves, where you can just let life unfold and wake up with joy in the morning, greeting a new day, saying, wow, what kind of miracles will I have today? What am I going to see today? Like a child who's curious, you know, and you don't have to wear the role of the mother or the role of the partner so heavy, because it's Christ, Jesus wants to do it through you, wants to let some pixie dust come through those hands, let some sparkles of light come in so that you feel the joy of life, that what a precious gift it is to have a loving Creator and be an extension of a loving Creator who created us with such love and joy. So I'm just so grateful that you're joining in with us, because I can tell this is important for you. You want that feeling, and what Pete and Linda were just showing you, that was like right back at you. Like this is all yours too. This is nothing to compare. This is all yours for the willingness, just for the willingness of it all.
Yeah, and even when you pray to have Jesus hold your hands, and to be able to feel that worthiness. Because I recently actually watched a movie, a black and white movie. It was very striking because it was a movie about faith, and throughout the movie, everybody was going through a lot of turmoil, and then the most strong, so to speak, spiritually strong person in the family died, and everybody felt lost. And there was this another family member. He was considered insane because he just spoke, he speaks like these are the walking dead, have absolutely no faith. He constantly speaks like that. And then at the end, when they were about to have this funeral, and the woman who died was lying in the coffin, and this person showed up and just said, if you guys are so sad, why don't you ask Jesus to raise her alive? And everybody was like, you're insane. Just get out of here. And the little child said, do that, uncle, do that. And he said, you really want to? And she said, yes, I believe that. So he said, okay. He just went into this presence and said, give me the word that you have. That is the life of all of us. And you rise up with such a power, and the woman rise up. And I was like, whoa, that is a movie that was so striking. I didn't really recommend it to anybody because I thought, we're not here to say, Jesus, grant me this wish, grant me that wish with specific form, but in a way to watch the question he asked the family, why don't you ask? But none of you actually thought of asking something that ask of him, ask of Jesus Christ, ask of Spirit. But you're accepting death as a reality. And it was very striking. And after watching that movie, I was thinking, truly, it's a question posed to us, why don't we ask that of Jesus all the time, all that we feel we want, So So that's what I feel.
that fits in, that movie fits in with Jesus saying, you do not ask for too much,
exactly.
You ask for far too little.
I was reminded of
That's a great example. It's probably the best example of that. Yeah. I think that's where movies can be helpful too, because today I received a movie recommendation, but it was about, I just saw the trailer, but it was about a group of actual nomads, and they made a movie about them, about their small town becoming, losing all of its jobs, and people didn't know where to turn, what to do, and then they just packed up the van and drove off on the adventure, and all the encounters, how well they were taken care of, how these nomads were living like the early pioneers that came to the United States, just with their covered wagons, not knowing what was going to be in the next mile, not knowing anything, how they would make it, just living with such trust. And that kind of trailer just reminded me that the ego tries to convince us that we know something of this world. We know something about children or about partners. We know something about what's necessary every day, when every day, Jesus says, should be devoted to miracles. And it seems like for the nomads, they just were living in a state of no expectations. And it was a funny movie, and it was, just from the trailer, you could feel the relaxation and the heartfeltness of being in the moment and not feeling locked into a linear life. Because I think that's where the heartbreak and the sadness comes in. Like, if we start to believe this must be my lot in life, and now I have to go through the motions and fulfill all these obligations and duties, then we have to come to the miracle, and Jesus saying, let me show you another way to look at this world. Let me lift you out of that feeling of being trapped, or feeling that life is mundane, and that joy may be for others but not for me. I must play out, my given lot in life. And Jesus just wants us to be lifted beyond that. And that's why I was sharing about those early days when I came across the Course, and then I started reading it for 8 hours a day, and then things got very devoted and prayerful, and then things started to get really surreal. And Portia was saying, yeah, that's what happened to me too. Yes, yes. And then she was saying how when she drifted back into starting to see it as a book, and started to see it as a teaching of words, and then there were opinions around those words. Then it just fell away from the vibrancy and the joy. Like, every moment is a miracle. Every moment can be something that's shown to me. Every moment can have a beautiful lesson that lights up my mind. When we succumb and give in to this worldly perception, then the joy disappears. Then it's almost like, it sounds like what you're saying is, you so much wanted to listen to the replay of what Svava and I were sharing, but there were so many interruptions that that it took like an hour. Like, it was a struggle to watch that. Or that life can seem like a struggle, like you had teeny little glimmers here and there where you give yourself permission, but that you have to feel worthy to give yourself those glimmers and handle all this other stuff first, to give yourself those little glimmers. Almost like going to the circus, and there's the guy that's got the poles, and he puts a plate on a pole, and he starts spinning the plate, and he gets another pole, and he's got a plate spinning, and then before you know it, he's got like 12 plates spinning, and he has to run around and shake the poles to keep the plates from falling. And the Holy Spirit is saying, you don't have to do this. You can actually let some of the plates fall. In fact, it'll be a dismantling of the self-concept, but it'll also be a dismantling of the worries and the stress and the concerns. And some people don't give themselves the permission until there's like a terminal illness. Imagine going through a whole life spinning plates and putting all that energy into keeping those plates spinning, and then a terminal illness comes, and then only then do they give themselves permission to read the books they want to read and talk to the people they always wanted to talk to, and take a trip, maybe. With a terminal illness diagnosis, they finally take the trip that they've always wanted to take. Intuitively, it's been in their mind. So Jesus is saying, it's okay, turn it around and start to realize that the whole world is for you and your mind, and the whole world is for your awakening and your happiness, and that your happiness is shared with the whole world. That when you free your mind, you set all the captives free too. It's not just Annabelle, it's a whoosh, it's a vast ocean of light and freedom when you let yourself rise up and join in with the miracle. So that's why you're here. You're here, you're tuning in for joy and inspiration, to get revved up inside, to be able to say, I'm worth it. I am enough. I am worth it. I have lots of love and light to give, and I'm going to give it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes. Thank you. Why don't we go to, is it Kohai in Japan?
Kohai.
I'll unmute Kohai. I was just going to remind everybody, please speak slowly for our translators too. So Kohai, you can unmute there.
Okay. Nice to meet you, David. And nice to see you again, Francis. So thank you so much. I'm enjoying my first retreat so much. So I want. So you show me, you tell me, so simplicity of this course, and also the simplicity of the truth. So thank you. And I'm usually speak only Japanese, so I cannot speak English well. But I feel something, and if I could speak English, but and also I cannot explain so well, but I feel something, maybe out of this world from you. And yes, I I can see your body and bodies, and I can hear your voice, and but actually, I feel I actually you are not bodies, and so and also you don't speak any words, and so if you uh, 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 if you 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 speak, if you are speaking only one word, I feel, and that word is so that cannot explain, but what to say, one truth you told told me, and so I'm so I'm just um, uh, remembering. So I'm also, I'm not the body, and I feel I'm also I'm a spirit. I'm spirit, and we are one mind, and we are one. I so they yes, I in the textbook, and so yes, we are we are not body, and so many times are written, but I cannot imagine how, what does it mean. But uh, through your demonstrations, I feel something. Uh, yeah. Uh, so thank you so much, and so thank you. But and but I uh, I I try to do something. So I try to get something, but I can every time I try, I fail, I miss. So I learning. I'm training my mind now, and I learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. I can. I'm learning. I'm doing, and I try. I doing nothing and do nothing, and just be still and listen and follow. And I mm, I accept the truth. I accept the atonement through this Course in Miracles and through you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, you're such a beautiful witness. You are a witness that it's not a matter of how much time you spend with the Course. It's a witness of where your heart is. And even though you're not used to speaking in English, we understand you so perfectly. The meaning and your heart comes through so well. And even the way you spoke the English is slow, so our Spanish translators are like, this is the greatest. He speaks at a perfect pace to translate to all of our Spanish friends around the world. And I think, like with Jesus, he had a very short public ministry of 3 years because there was no need for more. And I feel like you have a big heart of devotion, of praying for the experience of your light and shining, that you will go past many concepts like Course in Miracles groups and theology. Your destiny is to go right into the experience, that is what your calling is, and it won't require many years of study and many years of preparation. It's just letting your heart lead you, and you've got it. You've got the simplicity of listen and follow, and you are very intuitive. So you're a good witness for everyone that this is how it can be.
Yes, beautiful. Seeing the Christ,
Yeah.
behold the Christ. That's beautiful,
Yeah.
truly.
Your faith, good. You have the faith.
Thank you, Kohai.
Thank you.
What about Lori?
Lori Rees.
Oh, hi David, hi Francis, hi everyone.
Hi.
Oh, the last share just took me straight back to the very first retreat that I came to, and I just cried the whole way through. And the thought was like, it's the first time ever in my whole life I felt like I was being given a pathway home. Oh, it just took me right back to that. But yeah, that wasn't what I was going to share. What I was going to share was yesterday I was so not in the joy, I can't even tell you. I was biting my nails all the way through the whole movie workshop. Even when I found out it was going to be The Chosen, my husband got me the devotional 40 Days with Jesus as a present on Friday. So then for The Chosen to be the thing that was chosen. And yesterday, this wall of fear just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it kind of came out the blue. I was shocked because the thing my questions were all around my work. But the fear that came, sorry, I'll try and speak more slowly because I can get carried away. The thing that came was a fear around my children. Just a terror that I'm going to be asked to leave them, on this spiritual path. And yesterday, I got in bed last night and I thought I could see like the arrogance. Like, do I really think I can mess with God's divine plan? Do I really think I can love these children more than He loves them? It was just the most ridiculous thing. So I slept like a baby last night, and then today there's been so many miracles and so much help and support. It's come through Facebook and things that have been shared from the community, little tiny clips that I've watched of you guys. It's come from this devotional. Thank God that He's in control and you're not. I'm like, yeah, thank God. Just joining with mighty companions, old and new, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for these. Yeah, the thought came to me when I first found the course. I started reading it and I thought, I must be the only person in the world that is crazy enough and weird enough to have read this book. So within 2 weeks, I'd reached out to try and find others. And like, wow, there are others and there are you guys. And yeah, it's amazing to me that yesterday I even shared, I'm so glad I had the courage to share in the breakout room all of that fear and really a cry for help. Like it feels like I can't choose again. When I'm in that state, it's impossible. And yet today, it's almost like, what was all that about yesterday? Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, when you were talking about the fear around your children, I was reminded of a movie I did a while back. It's probably on Spreaker, and there's probably even a video of the setup, but of Fatima, of these 3 children in history that that basically were out and they saw Mother Mary, and then everything in the world tried to tell them that they were lying, they didn't see her, and they were such reflections of faith. And the two youngest children were gone in a year afterwards with the Spanish flu. They had a pandemic back then, at the time Fatima, during this appearance. So I think maybe that's something that could help you really hand your children over to God and see that there's a bigger purpose, because these three children, one grew up to tell the story, and then the other two were gone in about a year, but they had such faith, and they were such symbols of God's love that was so bright that all of us, when we showed the movie, we all were transported during the movie and during the talk. And I think that's the kind of experience that you're really praying for, is show me the higher perspective, the higher calling, where I can trust that things are all working for the good. And it is only arrogant when we think we know best, and not only best for ourselves, but best for our children and family. We don't, it's so accepted as just the way the human being is, but we can have these very expansive experiences where we're lifted and transported to a higher way of seeing. And so maybe that could be something you would enjoy, is taking the time, along with your little chosen manual, you can say to your husband, well, let's watch Fatima together, and the children will speak to you. They will be the little saints that will light your mind up. So thank you, Laurie. Thank you. So happy that you're with us.
Yeah.
Well, Ula is over there on the upper right. Hi.
Hi. Hi, David and Francis. So, like always, my heart is beating like crazy. So, I'm just hoping I'm going to get through this. I wanted to say, first of all, that it's been very helpful for me to see all the people sharing. It's very inspiring to see all. They're just like jumping into the fire. That's how I see it, at least, and like completely fearless and willing, and yeah, that's like inspiring to me, because that's a theme for me right now, that I want to break through the unworthiness, and keep jumping like I'm trying to do now, and just jump and speak my mind. That's the first thing, and then yeah, I'll try to speak slowly as well. Yeah, and then I've been starting to realize that for the longest time I've been speaking the words, like I've been saying the words that there's nothing coming at random, and it's all lessons from God. I've been speaking the words, but I haven't been actually. I made a secret agreement, I think, with myself, that when it comes to me, it's different. It's all just keeping me from going where I want. Whatever is coming my way is keeping me from. It's hindrances. So that's what I'm starting to realize, that I have to like start accepting And I was expressing last night that I want to. I have such a and there's emotions coming up for other people. I'm like the fireman. I just want to put it out. Like I just it's okay. You don't have to do that. And start defending myself or attack. I can do as well. I've been saying, and I want to start to see it as a call for love instead. And what happened this morning was that my partner was upset because something I said. She was very sad, and I think that's actually the first time ever that I didn't start saying, okay, you're sad, but this is all the reasons you don't have to be sad. I just stayed with her, and I lay down beside her and stroking her and stuff like that. And that felt very good. And I had another experience like that. I think that was a couple of weeks ago. At that point, she was angry with me because of something I said, and I didn't defend myself. I just sat there listening to all the things she was saying about me, and I was praying if I should say something or not. And at the end, she just asked me, "What do you think?" And then this story popped into my mind that I heard on Get Real show with Kenneth, where I think his name was Wesley, and he had this dynamic. He'd been watching his mind, and this is a dynamic that he would get guilty, and then he would get angry right after. And at that point, he had been feeling guilty, and then he started getting angry, and he was just watching it in his mind, and he was going like that. Like, he raised his hands, and "I don't want to do this anymore," he said. And then I was telling the story to my partner, and we both were laughing at this, and we were laughing and crying, and it was like I just had another feeling, or a feeling that I haven't had before, and just for like a second, I heard that your life can be like this all the time, and I just remember that yesterday. I had forgotten it, but that's how I felt at that point, or at that moment. So I wanted to share that, and I also had a question about this acceptance. I guess the question is, is it safe? I mean, to just start accepting everything, because I feel like I remember you, David, had said at some point that you practiced going at the store, and you got less money than it was actually supposed to get, and then you just practiced acceptance with that, and I really like that. But then in my house, it's for example a 10-year-old that watches her iPad for 8 hours a day, and that I feel like I can't accept that. So how does that? I feel like there's just some uncertainty in me around that. So I was hoping that you can speak around that, because I'm sort of thinking that it might be that I have to accept what comes out of me around the situation or something, but I'm not sure. So yeah, thank you for listening. And
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you. You just poured your heart out. It's so beautiful. Well, I think it's, first of all, it's so beautiful that you and your partner can join together and open up to the prayer of the heart. I think your partner called and had a talk with Francis, and so it just warms my heart when I see people together that are really allowing their relationship to be used for healing. That is so beautiful. And like you've shared, it's it's when you go out and when you're out in public that seems to be the most difficult. But the Spirit will start with you and your partner, and then with the children in the house. You mentioned this 10-year-old who has her face in the iPad. I found that children are reflections, and so as we come into our inspiration, we come into our integrity, we come into our inspiration, that they're reflections, so that's what brings them with more curiosity. If they just feel bored with the world, there are many devices in this world to distract and hide out. And we all know that. We're very aware of that. But as you get more into your purpose and your inspiration, you will draw forth the witnesses. That's what will make the difference in putting the iPad down and feeling the safety to talk to you and to talk about whatever is coming up. So it always starts with our own heart and our own mind, and then as we cultivate that, it starts to transfer. It will transfer when you go out and you meet people. It will transfer in your home. It just starts to radiate out. You feel more safe, more comfortable, more centered, more intuitive. Then the confidence starts to grow in that intuitive way of being, and then it just will draw forth more witnesses. And at first, maybe it's a patience to, if you see her on the iPad for many hours, then you just watch what's going on in your emotions, and you watch what's going on with your thoughts, and you pray to be shown how to see this scene.
Yeah, beautiful. I really see that in your relationship, because every relationship provides enormous opportunity to learn how to give. And that is the central lesson, actually, in relationships. And what I see is you really started to get that, instead of using that to defend and trying to feel safe. Instead, you actually started to say, okay, what is really called for here? If I don't defend myself, then something naturally comes through to see that there is something you can offer, even if it is just a non-defensive attitude, and the miracles would reflect back, this is what you have to offer. And then it actually then become very inspiring in relationships, because you really see you have a lot to give, and it's not from the past, is always in the present, when there is no defense, where it's just waiting to be shown what is that I can give. And with children, that's exactly what David said. But I also notice I keep thinking of Mr. Rogers when I was thinking of children, because one thing he said in the interviews was that he said, and the best thing that adults can do to children is to show their passion and inspiration in front of them. And he said, he gave a little example. He said in one of the schools there was like a clay class, potting class, and then one day the school invited a pot teacher to came, but instead say you can teach the kids. Say don't teach them, don't teach anything. Just be passionate. Just play with it yourself in front of the class. So this guy just really just had fun with the pot, the clay himself. And he said in no time before that teacher or after, they have seen so many creativity in that class. And so that he said, truly to be inspired, to live an inspired life is the most responsibility you can have, and everybody around you can benefit, especially kids. They really watch, Mm-hmm. So then it comes back to, give the light you are, Ole, and live a very inspired life to follow Jesus, follow the calling in your heart. That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's the simplicity of practice. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ole. You mentioned Wesley. I actually see Wesley there in Mexico co-living.
Wow, okay. We go to co-living. To the bunk room.
Wrong room. Hey, Francis. Hey, David. I feel, I just feel really grateful for being here, for having this space to be able to move through all of these seeming difficult experiences. I've been sitting here crying off and on this whole sharing today, as everyone has been expressing everything that I've been going through. Thank you. I mean, that's when it came down to it, right before, I think his name was Ole. There's just so many thoughts racing through my mind right now. So Angie's been going through some difficult things. And for the most part, I've been doing my best to stay in true empathy. And a few nights ago, I felt resistance. And then I just started to express after a day of feeling some really deep resistance. And I expressed everything that was going on for me. And my identity dropped away. The awareness or belief that I'm a body, that there's a person sitting in front of me that's separate from me. And when that happened, all that was there was love. And it wasn't my love. And there was no me. It was just, I was the experience of being a conduit for God's love. And it was a beautiful experience. I was very present in my heart, and Angie was also very present and in her heart. And then this experience transitioned to a different place in La Casa. And then there was a lot of darkness that started to come up. And Angie started to express her grievances. And there were a lot. And so I just sat there in this state of not being a me. and just loved everything that was arising. There were a couple things that brought the ego mind back in for a few seconds, and I saw the innocence in it and continued to be present. And then at the near the end, or there was just this thought that came in my mind that said, okay, this is finished. And then the conversation ended. But before she started expressing all of this darkness and these grievances, there was this particular thing that I saw, or thought I saw, think I see, about a pattern around money that shows up, whereby I fall into a role of being a man, and I'm then obligated to be the provider of the money. And that was the moment that something shifted, and I said, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. She asked directly, and I said this. And then that's when all the grievances started coming up. I had the experience of seeing that there was no Angie and there was no Wesley, and that it was a mind, and I was only seeing my mind coming back at me, not conceptually. There wasn't an idea that this was going on. There was just, it was that everything was what I am. And so in this experience, I saw that it was only the mind healing. So after this experience, I woke up the next day, and the first person I saw when I came out of my room was Angie, and she expressed the experience about seeing having the picture fall and seeing Jesus. And I went into resistance. Not that moment when I woke up with a headache, and there was just darkness arising from the moment I woke up. And then I saw her, and then throughout the day, it was just like all this resistance towards you, David, resistance towards Jesus. And so it was a challenging day. I moved into function, and that helped. I talked with Kenneth, and that also helped. I worked with Spiri, and that also helped to find out some of the beliefs that were underneath this. And then I woke up this morning, and I just gave it all away. And I asked for Jesus and the Holy Spirit to show me. And I read the beginning of the chapter on true empathy. And I did the lesson, and then I walked to come to see the beginning of the retreat. And the door was closed, and I felt like, okay, no, I had this thought about eating breakfast first. I'm going to honor that desire. So then I went and had breakfast, and I had the breakfast I wanted, and someone gave me a delicious drink that I almost always enjoy, and I didn't have to plan or do any of it. And I just saw that I was giving myself back into the flow of being with my mighty companions, to letting go of the plate spinning, and I walked into the retreat, and I felt this resistance come up, and I just was present with it, and it dropped away. And then I just thought about sharing. The thought dropped away, and then my body moved, and I came down, and I pushed the button, and then everyone since then has been just this deepening of the experience of what I wanted to express, or what I believed I needed to express. It was just, and then the fellow, when he mentioned my name in that experience, I just started crying in the room here with everyone. And it, through this, it brings me back to this feeling of just so much gratitude of God's love. Like, this is all God's love. There's no me loving. There's no me that can love. It is just God's love. I'm in this beautiful place with these beautiful people and with so much support. And I just feel so grateful. being part of this community, for being at La Casa, for Angie, for all the teachers and all my mighty companions, and Benito and Zion slept with me the last 2 nights, and it's just this beautiful little witness of unconditional love and fluffy comfort, and oh, and it's all love. Like, I mean, there's so many seeming difficult things that come up, and it's just like I'm in this space, and all of the experiences and all of the thoughts that have been so difficult throughout my life are having this opportunity to just come up and be witnessed and loved and forgiven. And to move into the unknowing of how life works, and having God be there to hold me, a loving God. Oh, a loving God. That's all it is. That's all that ever has been. And it's only these beliefs, these blocks to love's presence, that make it look like anything other than that. And I'm in. I'm in. That's it. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's resistance that's going to come, as it does, but I'm in, and I accept the atonement, whatever that's going to take. That is happening. It's already done.
Oh, we have so much gratefulness for you, Wesley. You're just a gift of transparency. I know you have a deep devotion to God, and you've gone through so many things in your life, you know, being a monk, now being in a relationship, and just bringing up this idea about the provider. That is a beautiful question about providence, because the belief in being a body, there's a belief in I need air, I need food, I need water, I need attention, I need affection, and yet you're just in a space of moment by moment being open, and being open to be shown. And there was a time recently online, maybe you were on Ken's show, where you were talking about how you got this prompt to send someone some money, but it came from a prompt in your heart. It didn't come from a role. It just came from a beautiful prompt in your heart, a blessing. And that is always the answer, because when Jesus is asked about things like even money or providing, it's like he's saying to offer money in the plan where it can be helpful and useful will bring you the happiness and peace and joy that you desire, and to withhold money from the plan will bring the sense of tightness and lack. But he's taking it away from roles. He's just saying, be with me in this moment. Let me guide you, let me direct you. Let me show you how everything can be used for the whole, to bless everyone. And the human way has been to just buy into the roles and take on the mask, and to try to act accordingly to the role, even though sometimes it hasn't felt congruent, or it hasn't felt light. Your heart felt heavy with the role, and that was because it was an opportunity to trust and to loosen from the role. So it's beautiful, because as we go through our experiences with this world, we're in prayer, and we're always praying to be intuitively shown what will bring a blessing in this moment. It's not about trying to maintain roles in the world, because Jesus knows we need to loosen from those. But we have to do it with just love and guidance and integrity, not from a form thing. And oftentimes, of course, we've tried that in the world, we try to do the form thing. I remember that movie about the life of Father Keating, and he was sharing how, he believed his parents were not into any of this, and he just left them and left all the future expectations they had for him to go be a priest. And yet, as a priest, at one point, he was the head of a monastery, and I guess the Monsignor had said to him, someone important of authority had said, you need to go back and visit your parents, and while you're there on the East Coast, the monastery will close unless we have some finances, so I want you to go back and ask your dad for money, and ask your dad for contacts to help support paying for the monastery, the needs of it. He was like, oh no, you've got to be kidding. I left my dad and that whole society and everything behind, and to go ask his dad for money and for contacts of other people that could donate money to help support the monastery. Oh, it was a tough journey there, but he did it. He went back, he talked to his dad. His dad said, yeah, here, I'll give you some money. And he was shocked, and then he said, here's some contacts of friends that I have. You can, feel free to contact them too. And then after he went through that whole thing, he realized that that they didn't have enough money for the monastery. And then he went back to his dad and just was open about it. And his dad said, I'll give you the rest of the money. And it was a total divine providence experience for him, of seeing that Father Keating, didn't have to do it personally. He just had to follow the prompts. And the whole thing really wasn't even about the money. It was about undoing the pride that he was such a spiritual being and his father was not. And it was dissolving that whole thing that he had going in his mind. It's never really about what we think it is on form. It's always for the lesson of perfect equality. It's always for the lesson of seeing the sameness, like you were saying, seeing that we share the same mind and we're the same one. That's the only lesson there is, and it's amazing how the Spirit knows what is best for us to have that experience. The Spirit knows. The Spirit's got us. But your transparency is what's going to carry you all the way, because it's only what we've attempted to hide and the secrets we try to hold with ourselves that keep us back. And you're not going to do that anymore. You've showed up in sincerity to really be open and let the Spirit use all your mighty companions and everything around you for the awakening. So thank you. You're an example for everyone of allowing these things to come up and just letting the emotions move through like a shower, like an afternoon shower. And yes, and the pavement gets wet for a while, and then the water dries up, and as the sun comes out, and we're dancing in the sunshine again. Thank you.
Thank you, Wesley.
Thank you. Well, let's try somebody new. How about Nanny?
Hey, can you hear me all right? Can you hear me okay? Oh, cool. Well, so much. Too little, just a few words. Because I know I can speak a lot, and that could be a problem sometimes. But I first and foremost want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to every single one of you guys there. I appreciate you. I see God in you. I see me in you. I see Jesus in you, the Holy Spirit in you. And I honor your tears. I embrace your words, your sharings, your thoughts, your feelings, all the beautiful and powerful ideas you've brought to this whole new thing. I'm new. So I met David, I think 5 days ago or something like that. I've been following his teachings in YouTube. I think I'm a student of the course like for 8 years. I think I'm a follower of God since I was born. I also want to be a nun, and I'm a therapist, and I'm a meditator, and I'm a prayer. And when I found the course, this whole thing of, it's just how simple it is, and how fast we change the perceptions, and we give it to the Holy Spirit, and for the atonement to just fix or do, or the beautiful thing that happens and just brings nothing but bliss and bliss and bliss and bliss. And so I resonated with several things that have been shared. So one thing that I also want to say, based on what someone said before, that this is our call, that's everyone's call. And last night I saw this movie, God Calling, which was really beautiful. I'm sure you've seen it. This lady that lost her daughter, and she used cocaine and all those things, and how powerful it was, like really God calling her, and it's just beautiful. And then when, I don't know, it was a lady that said, this is our call and everyone's call, and it's just about, faith and answer the call. It's like, yes, I'm calling. Go ahead, answer the phone. It's like, this is me. And it shows up in so many ways. I actually had my camera off, and Eric said to me, Nanny, you have to turn your camera on because David's not going to see that you're there. But I'm like, I was just going to be, I love fun. I love laughter. And I was going to say, hey, I am nobody. I'm not going to show you my face. But you can hear me, all right? So anyway, he asked me to turn my camera on. So this is how I look in this incarnation. So it's so cool.
Eric drew you out of stealth mode.
And I just want to say thank you. The acceptance part was also pretty cool. This whole thing with kids and the video games, because my fiance has 3 teenagers and they play video games. Especially one of them, he plays video games like all the time, and that was a good one in his house. And it's also interesting how the belief systems take place sometimes, because I also totally resonate when Francis said about the inspiration, like being the show your passion, with this Mr. Rogers thing. It's true, but sometimes it's this video games have some sort of a seriously an important addictive part in it, and we need to get smarter than that in order to show our passion. Music, nature, I don't know, because it's just like they can be there for hours, man. It's just like, wow. And but so boundaries, I mean, maybe you want to talk a little bit about boundaries. I don't know. There are no boundaries. This is not even a boundary. My skin is not a boundary. Our faces are no boundaries. There's no you, there's no me. It's just.
I like your expressions, hand expressions. So it was like the claw of video addiction you were pointing out with the claw. But we're just happy to have you on board, because I've talked for the last 30 years on everything from undoing boundaries, and I've walked into rooms with 45 psychotherapists, and we all drop down the rabbit hole together and dismantle their psychotherapy ideas. So, but I like your excitement and your passion and your expression, and it's an honor to have you and welcome you on here. And I'm glad Eric coached you into the visual mode so we could see. We wouldn't have been able to see the claw without Eric getting you out of stealth mode. Yes. So thank you. That's made all the difference for us. Well, I think we've got a few. We have to move on because we've got 1, 2, 3,
We have
4, 5,
six hands.
6 more hands. So we'll move on with Camus, co-living, to see what's going on up there. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
And I'm thrilled to be here at Camus Co-Living. I've been here about a couple weeks now. And I've been studying the course for about a year. And I've been doing the mystical mind training since I've been here. And I still feel like a baby just learning to crawl. And this weekend, my intent was really to listen to Holy Spirit's voice. So I've been observing silence and tuning in. And so I went for a walk yesterday. And as you know, here in Utah, anytime you go for a walk, there's these majestic snow-capped mountain peaks everywhere. So as I was walking, the inner voice said to me, "Did you make the mountains?" And I said, "No." And then I was looking down at the dandelions by the road, and the voice said, "Did you make the dandelions?" I said, "No." He said, "Did you make any of this around you?" And I'm like, "No." "Did you make yourself?" "No." "Do you have any understanding of what sustains all this and makes it go?" And I said, "No." And so the voice said, "Do you think you could start to trust what made and sustains all of this?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess I could start to learn to trust that." And then the voice said to me, "So do you believe that God is love?" And I said, "Yes, I believe God is love." And then the voice said, "So how could love not love you? How could you ever believe that love could not love you?" And so I got, for me personally, I need to dismantle this concept of God as a gray-haired man on a throne and just substitute love, pray to love, talk to love, commune with love. And so then this morning when I woke up, the first message I got in my head was, "I love you." I don't think I've ever had an internal voice say, "I love you" before. And it's like the Holy Spirit got in there before the ego could get in there with all its thoughts and this and that. And so I've decided that, like, my new motto, I'm going to borrow from Star Wars, is not "May the Force be with you, may the force of love be with you."
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. What a blessing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. That's for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Big hug, big kiss. And speaking of co-living, we have co-living Spain. Again. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Dirk here in Mallorca. Hello. Yeah. I want to say that I'm so grateful for your teachings. It's for me a daily task or a daily possibility to learn and to hear you, and now to be here in Mallorca with my mighty companions. It's really mighty companions, and to share everything. Good. And that's really possible to share everything, to say everything. In saying this, I feel a block, but there's still fear to do this, but it's still it goes still further and further, and I feel I have no other possibility. It's my way to do this and to connect and to learn and to be to find who I am. Yeah, to find who I am and what is real and who I am. Yes. Despite of my fears, yes, I heard you saying, David, this week in a teaching, do nothing out of fear. Was that evening? My question was, have I locked the door here in Mallorca? Thought out of fear, and it's I appreciate all these teachings from you all, or from this community, all the support and the whole community. So, as I heard in this retreat this weekend, for all these contributions from all brothers in this honesty and in this in this honesty. Yeah. Okay. So it was important for me to say to express my gratefulness for you, and I'm here. On my knees.
On your knees.
They gave me on my knees. I fall on my knees. Good advice as well. Yeah, and it's to make it short for this time now. Thank you very much, and thank you all. Thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful.
Thank
you. I can see Augustine with his earbuds in. It's amazing, the technology. He can listen in Spanish and hear and understand what you're saying. So we are blessed. I think the Holy Spirit is just blowing away all perceived differences, including language differences. And we're seeing we're the same one. And we can actually celebrate that, and we can live a life free from fear. What a relief! What an absolute relief! Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dirk.
We're gonna have to have a comedy branch, and I think this is the first of our Monty Python new comedy branch that we have to light everybody up with humor. It's beautiful. Beautiful. We love your humor. Thank you. Okay, very good. Well, I saw we had Mexico co-living was ready to jump in there too, so let's go across the ocean. Oh, it's Julio from Spain. It's still the Spanish influence.
Hola. Well, hi everyone and everyone. For me, it's a great joy to be able to participate in this retreat. Thank you to David, Kirsten, Francis, Spava, for the words that you have told us this weekend. Thank you to Marina, to Anna and Diana for their translations. And thank you, Peter and Linda, for their technical support. Eric, of course, and everyone that have been sharing, because for me it's been incredible, everything that I've been experimenting in these past 3 days. I come from a tradition, Christian, Catholic. Since I was very little, I knew about the mystics, to Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross, and I loved to read them, but I didn't understand. I saw them as something that you cannot reach, that ecstasy that they reflect in those writings. I could see it as something now I have been able to interiorize it. Now I really believe that I'm capable of being a mystic, because it's as simple as putting all your heart and willingness in the hands of God, and that's all. And I owe this to this retreat, and I'm so grateful. There's also something that really touched me yesterday when Vanessa here made that question to you, David, about relationships. And David spoke about those 4 pillars, fundamental pillars, if I remember correctly, is purpose, collaboration, commitment, and healing. Those 4, I was inspired to add one more, and add one that's guided from the Holy Spirit, is devotion, because I really am experiencing what it is in a couple to be devoted, to practice, study the course with your partner, and it's amazing. It's really helping me find those other 4 things, and also the devotion of your partner to serve, because they are serving Christ, really, not a person or form. It's just an image. But that beyond that image, there's that divine essence and my brother Jesus. And now I just want to make a comment of an experience that I had this weekend, that for me it's a clear example of that light, the one that we have to feel, not like a false modesty or fear. How can I be the light? No, I don't deserve to be this. Oh yes, I do deserve this because I am that, the same as we are all that light. And yesterday when we were watching the episode of The Chosen, the doorbell rang here in co-living Mexico, and my brother Hugo came to tell me, and he said, JJ is for you. I came out of the room towards the door, and on the way there he said, it's a lady called Adriana. I know which this Adriana is. Adriana is a lady that lives on the street. I have met her because when I went to the store nearby to buy, I have seen her. She usually is in the doors of the locals, of the stores, asking for some money. As I said, she doesn't have a place to live. She lives in the streets, and she confessed that she's addicted to drugs, to methamphetamine. But for me, she is the Christ. I've had conversations, very deep conversations with her. I was there to extend what was the course, but I found out that she was talking about love and authenticity to me. She was the one that became my teacher, not me. I would sit next to her when she was asking for money, and I was just sitting with her, and I would buy a soda or a juice, and I was just there sitting with her next to the door, and she was still asking for money, and I didn't feel any kind of embarrassment. I just felt like the same as her. I could ask for money if I needed to. I didn't feel any embarrassment. But Adriana, while we were watching this series of The Chosen, the 2nd episode, she rang the bell and she came to see me, and she asked me how I was, that it was a while that she hasn't seen me because I haven't been able to see her for a couple of weeks. She asked me about my relationship because I have told her that God has given me a person, and we were starting a relationship. And this was moving a lot of things inside of me and bringing a lot of happiness. And afterwards, she said, I come to bring you something. So she took out of her pocket the pipe where you used it to consume the drug. And she said, please save this for me. I don't want it anymore. And she gave it to me. And I felt intuitively just with their presence. You can really be a miracle worker. I really feel that, not with pride, but just with gratitude. And I'm grateful to God because He has allowed me to illuminate involuntarily this person, so at least she can leave that addiction, to be able to go back to her family, to her grandchildren. So, well, this is what I wanted to share. I'm very grateful that the Lord has put this experience for me in this dream that I'm living. And, well, just wanted to say thank you to all my brothers and sisters, and everything that I'm experiencing here in co-living, everything that I've been experiencing here is miraculous. Every minute, every second is a miracle. And I'm so grateful. I love you all.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's great. Look at those smiling faces. Look at that. Gracias. Oh, that's so beautiful.
Spanish mystics.
Yes. The flowers of the Spanish mystics are growing up in Chapala. Watch out, world. A new breed of mystic, joyful mystic is launched from Chapala. And Spain, Mallorca.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's the Spanish connection. It's very strong. That's beautiful. And speaking of Spanish connection, Carla. Hi.
Hola.
Hola.
How are you?
Good, good.
Well, I feel that all the interventions I felt very identified, and I feel like I've received a lot of answers. Really, all the topics that have been in my mind have been answered. Mainly, a few weeks ago, I feel that I'm like becoming crazy or something. I have a lot of mood swings, very strong. There are moments where I feel very connected. I feel happy, in peace, total peace. Yesterday, I was sharing in the breakout groups that in the past few weeks I've been able to identify the ego as outside of me, like just to watch it, give a step back, observe it, and sometimes I can even laugh about it. That has made me feel very, very happy, because it's like I've always felt that the ego was part of me and it was very hard to detach from it. But also there are moments where I feel I'm back in that and I fall in the game of the ego, and this feels like so, so real. I feel as part of myself again. Yesterday I had like a beautiful, happy day. The first time I leave through a movie workshop, and I feel so identified with everyone. It was touching my heart so much. I could fall asleep for a little and I would just continue being connected without guilt, because sometimes I feel that when I disconnect from a movie or a talk, I'm like, you're not doing it good, you're not putting attention. But yesterday it was a whole different experience and I was very happy. But during the night, there was a topic with this guy that I'm dating. And really, it was like I came from happiness to sadness to anger to feeling abandoned. All these moments, I'm already living it in a different way. I'm accepting, asking for a miracle. I had very clear the belief in me that all this emotion was coming from the belief that I don't deserve to be loved, that everybody abandons me, or that they don't choose me. I had it so clear that it was coming from that belief, and I was handing over this belief, but it didn't solve like all this moment of darkness and these emotions that were coming up. So I had it very clear that my main problem was that all this belief is creating not wanting to trust, so I can't have any kind of relationship that's healthy because I feel that they're always lying to me. So it's very hard for me in this topic of relationships. So I feel like I'm totally possessed by the ego, thinking about how to have vengeance, that I had to make him feel the same thing that he had made me feel. I told him, I need to see you. He told me the next time he told me we can see each other, I'm going to tell him no so that he feels what I feel. And I was totally in this game of the ego. I was conscious that the solution is not to change outside, but to change inside the perception and change my mind. I'm trying to work with that very strongly. During these moments, I'm always praying and handing it over, and I'm asking for a miracle to change this perception. I feel that this type of relationships, and truly this one, is helping me a lot to heal. I feel like he's like a teacher. This guy's like a greatest teacher ever because he's projecting a lot of darkness in me and I'm healing a lot. But since yesterday, I have like this voice in my mind, like it's telling me, if you don't trust in him, all this lack of trust that comes up with these beliefs, you don't have to stay with him. You have to stop this relationship. So this questioning starts. I'm not like enlightened, I'm not in darkness, I'm in this in-between place that is very hard for me to identify if this voice is the guidance, is the Holy Spirit that's telling me this is not healthy for me, I need to stop this, or if it's the ego trying to find a solution in the form. Because I understand that the only way to heal is through relationships. But until then, until what point do I have to stay in this situation? Because it's always the same moments when the darkness comes up. It always comes back to this. So it's always very hard for me to identify when it's in this moment, if it's the guidance or if it's the ego. So I feel like confused. I don't know if you can help me with that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Carla. Yeah, in the manual for teachers, Jesus talks about 3 levels of relationship. And he says, actually, there aren't any levels, but he still gives 3. A casual encounter and a teaching learning opportunity where it continues until the learning and teaching is maximized, and then they appear to separate. And then the third one is a lifelong teaching learning partner. And he says the third one is very rare because the teaching learning balance has to be actually perfect for these lifelong relationships. So if you, even in the relationship that you're dealing with right now, if you see it as a mirror to your mind and you see the value and helpfulness of it reflecting back and mirroring the things that you believe, then you can more easily hand those over to the Holy Spirit. The ego tries to make it into another issue. The ego says the big issue is to stay or to go. And the Holy Spirit is saying, oh no, it's the purpose for the relationship that's the most important thing. And that purpose is seeing that this is a mirror of the mind and can have a great value in showing you what is in the mind. So we were just in Spain co-living, and Augustine, I see who's next, and his partner Olgi have come there as partners. And then in Mexico co-living, we have people who came, lots of them, who came as single and no expectation whatsoever to be in a relationship. In fact, when they first came, they said, no, I'm coming here to not be in a relationship. They actually had that as part of their purpose. But Jesus always knows best. And Julio, who was just speaking, and Omicia, and then there's been a lot of spirit-arranged couples where they both have a very sincere desire for healing and to let the relationship be used for healing, and they both have a willingness to be transparent, even though that can even make things more intense when people are sharing their thoughts openly with trust. It can bring up, as Wesley and Angelica were both sharing, that it brought up enormous darkness to the mind. But both Wesley and Angelica have also witnessed, just during this retreat, this weekend, the healing power of keeping the faith and trusting. So I think that's the most important thing now is you just hand over the relationship as it is now. And then you watch what arises, like you've been doing. If it seems like this man is threatening to not meet with you or not be attentive, and you notice the controlling part come up and say, well, I will break it off to show him what I'm feeling, then that's how the ego works. It always wants to get back at somebody, like, you hurt me, I'll hurt you. And then you'll get a taste of it. And that's not the purpose really for relationships. That's just how the ego uses relationships to keep the sadness, to keep the depression, to keep the isolation. It has its own strange games that it plays. And they don't bring a sense of fulfillment and connection. And yet, I feel like you participating with all of us, this is starting to open your mind to that clear guidance. And beyond even that you are so worthy of love, that you are very worthy of that deep connection and that deep communication. And you are aware that Jesus uses holy relationship to experience this worthiness. And then you just hand over the relationship and hand over the symbols to the Holy Spirit and say, you guide me. You put the prayer first, and then you go forward and trust, and you grow and learn from what is presented. So thank you, Carla. That's a beautiful question for everyone. That's an exclamation point for us all here as we wind down. It's really beautiful. Thank you. Oh, beautiful. Okay, well, what do you see?
We got 4 more hands left. You mentioned Augustine from co-living.
Augustine.
Yeah.
Co-living Spain. Thank you for your beautiful caricature.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the beautiful caricature. I'm getting a lot of nice comments about that. One friend down here in Mexico said, that's the best picture of David ever.
Pues quería
decir 2 cosas. I just wanted to say 2 things, and afterwards 3 questions. The first thing I want to say is say thank you to you for the opportunity that you've given us to Olga and me to be here in co-living to heal our minds, and also to say thank you to everyone that have been able to make this possible, to Emily, Jason, Jiska, Soren, and all the mighty companions here, Olga, Alexandra, Derek, and another friend that I didn't listen, that I met the first time I came here. I also met Lilo, Peter, and Charles. And I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm gonna take this opportunity to these 2 months, because I'm gonna have to go back to go to the plaza to make more cartoons. But I really want to take these 2 months and use them to the most that I can, so that when I go back to Palma, even though the neighbors on top of my house do a lot of noise, that's not gonna perturb my peace. I just wanted to gain like a mental state, so that when I come back to Palma, I'm not affected by this anymore. The second thing I wanted to say is that a movie that you recommended in the book with Movie Watcher's Guide to Enlightenment, it really touched my heart. And I felt identified with the character, St. Francis of Assisi, Brother Sun and Sister Moon, the movie. He had like an awakening, a calling to God, and it was in a scene where he's in a field full with poppy flowers, and he's sitting on a tree, and that song is playing, this beautiful day. And he was saying that he always wanted for everyone to feel that peace, to see that beauty. And then that scene where he's with the bishop, because he had thrown all the clothes out of the window, and he said to this bishop, when he's there with the fathers, the father takes him to the bishop so that he can get punished, and he says, these things in the world are not what's worth it. Nothing in this world is worth it. That he only wanted to be free like a bird, and that his feet are not in this earth, and he just wants to be free. That he only wanted the spirit. And when I saw that movie, I felt very identified, because it's like what my heart is asking for. And then when I've been here, I've always felt like that movie really reached my heart so deeply. I feel more the devotion. I feel like my calling is to dedicate my life to God. I feel it stronger and stronger, and I feel it more clear. And now the 3 questions that I want to do, I'm going to do the 3, and then if you could please answer them. The first question is, when you felt that the guidance for me and Olga to come here and Olga to translate, I also wanted to ask you if you felt, or if Jesus told you something about me, if he guided you for me to come because he knows that I need to heal my mind with the topic of the neighbors and the state of mind and the training, that I'm just such a beginner right now, but this is affecting me so much. I wonder if he asked you to come here so that I can heal my mind regarding this situation, if he has a message for me. The second question is, I know that the Course says that the death doesn't exist and that linear time does not exist, but I have to ask you this way to be able to understand. In a scale of 0% to 100%, how probable it is, taking in consideration my resistance and my beginner or not very good in mind training, how probable it is that I'm gonna leave this body that does not exist before I'm 50? How probable is it that I can reach enlightenment, that my mind is 100% healed? And the third question is, if someday we'll be able to meet you in person. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Augustine. Yeah. Yes, when I invited you and Olga to come, I was aware of your situation, and Jesus was very aware of your situation with the neighbors above. And so this is, just as you have said, an opportunity to move through the grievance and to train your mind so that you can be more fully used in the plan for everyone in the whole world. You can let some of your gifts and some of your light shine through even more. So it was purposefully chosen that you and Olga would come, and this would be part of your healing assignment. And then, in terms of probability of becoming enlightened, as we were talking with Kohai in Japan, enlightenment is not a matter of time as it is of readiness and willingness. And the readiness has to do with a factor that's beyond time and space. So when Jesus came 2,000 years ago, he was very ready to wake up. Because of his previous seeming incarnations, he had let go of so much of the ego that when he came 2,000 years ago, he was done by about 33 years old. There was no need to even be 50. He had completed the mission. What you can bring is your willingness. So as you bring your willingness to practice with Olga, your partner, with all your mighty companions, and then as you go back to Palma in a couple months with just the willingness to serve and be used by Jesus, he can use you in so many amazing ways to bring your joy and your laughter and your love to those you meet. Even those tourists that are coming up and see you and say, "Can you make us a caricature?" They'll feel your love. They'll feel that there's something very deep there, and that will be your key, is to be willing. If you just are willing, then the willingness shortens time. The willingness to serve collapses time, and it makes the time necessary to get shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's the thing to focus your mind on, not on the time or whether you'll be enlightened in this lifetime, but to focus your mind fully on the willingness, because it shortens time immeasurably when you are willing. And particularly in relationships, if you are willing in a relationship, as we talked about Ole, and we've had so many, Wesley, Angelica, when you are willing in a relationship to connect and to really pray together and ask to be shown, it helps the whole universe, because it collapses time, and it brings everyone back into the present moment. So, and then as far as meeting me, there's probably a pretty good chance that I will be back to Mallorca at some point. But I don't know when. It's out of my awareness. But I'm a little bit like Mother Teresa. I go around and I like to give hugs to all the beloveds that I meet wherever I go. So she did that. She would go from her mother house in Delhi, and then she would go hop around, take an airplane, and she would just hug and put her hands on the cheeks of all the beloveds. And I've done a lot of that, but now with the pandemic, we as Francis said, we're going much more digital, as we are right now. So I have to send you a hug through the computer and the internet for now, and say we'll leave that to Jesus. But if I make it to the center, make sure if you go to Palma, you leave your phone number and your mobile, so I can, because I have to land in Palma to make it there, So could have a nice little joining there at the airport. So thank you, Augustine. Okay. Okay, where do we go from here?
We have final 3 left. I think Monica has been there waiting for a long time. Let's go to Monica.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Yo también
I also want to add to the gratitude for these few days, because I felt that everything that everyone has shared in some way, I also say it, and I also look forward to saying that. I also want to share an experience that I had, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago maybe, and it was about forgiveness. I was in a room, a bit dark, so behind me, like in a sofa, I stood up and I saw that there was like a chest. So I opened this chest and I said, "What is this chest?" I said, it's the past. So I opened it and I saw a few things inside, and there I saw the clothing of a nun, because I was a nun before, as I mentioned before, and it's always in my memory. So this dress or this garment that I used for 8 years, I took it and it vanished in my hands. And other things, but this was the main thing. So I said, it's forgiveness, my past. And it makes so much sense, because when I had seen with you guys the movie of Dark City, it really impacted me. This scene where he blows and everything just vanishes, and then the light comes. And after this, I was very astonished. So I said, okay, everything that's in this chest or trunk, nothing here exists, but it also has to disappear. This chest or trunk has to disappear. And after that, it was very fast. I'm talking too fast? After this, 2 weeks came, but everything happened. From like a dog biting me. So I started like, oh no, I have to forgive. I'm usually not afraid to dogs or animals. I was like, oh no, I have to hand it over. But after a lot of things started happening, more things. And so then after that, I started to say, what is within me that all of these things are happening? So I started like going deeper, sinking. What's happening? I'm guilty. What happened? Why is this happening? I just started sinking in that. And afterwards I thought, how can I conciliate both things? The future does not exist. I think that I have that like on some level of understanding of that, but I can see that I was falling in this pit of suffering. I start having physical symptoms, pains, and well, this is a question, but a little bit before, a few days ago, I received a WhatsApp, and it was talking about the situations in Colombia, and that all these countries, the same thing is going to happen. And I was very afraid. So it says that Chile is very advanced in this process that's going to happen. The thing is that the next day, I woke up a bit of worry, and I felt you don't have to do anything. Only trust and nothing else. And this gave me a lot of peace. So I just wanted to share that. I just wanted to share all of that with you. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. You're an inspiration. You go from a former nun to a devoted course student, and then you watch Dark City, and then you dive in and go for forgiveness in the deepest way. And what you close with is the most important point, that is, whether we're looking at a WhatsApp message or something on the internet, it all is for us to deepen in our trust and faith. And that really is the point of this whole weekend, is that we experience our devotion to God by trusting that nothing is by accident, that everything that seems to happen is for our mind to clear and for us to experience the full peace of forgiveness. And your attitude is beautiful, that you are opening your mind and welcoming these experiences to come, knowing that the Spirit is in charge and nothing happens by random. It's all for the same lesson of trusting even more deeply than ever before. So thank you, Monica. That's reminding everyone that this is always about trust, and that we can feel the peace immediately when we remember that one idea, one thought.
It's also next month, the topic of our next month's online retreat is trusting in the present. That's exactly what this is about. Trusting the answer will be provided in this present moment. So it's just a beautiful demonstration of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Beautiful. Well, we have 2 more hands, and then we will be showing you a little video about the next month's retreats. So why don't we go to Jeffrey? I see Jeffrey's there.
Whew. Thank you for taking the extra questions. Yeah, I had a prayer for this retreat too. I've been looking at the consciously directed miracle, and just starting on Friday morning with Francis and Kirsten. I had to sing like I have to move from a miracle worker to a miracle allower, because I still want to help certain ones. And I've been meaning to call you, David, and say, talk about the opposite of immediacy. Wait till I go to Mexico. Susanna mentioned it to me, and just at the prospect, I burst into tears, So I just, I don't know when I'm overwhelmed. I become a master of disguise. And when I was in the community, Jason used to say to me, I think you're overwhelmed. I'd be like, what? Like I just didn't know. And so it takes things for me to see. And so I walk out my driveway the other morning and water is coming up through my driveway. I'm like, what is this? And so, of course, that one I fixed. And yesterday after the retreat, I went to the cabin and I walked into the cabin. Of course, there's water coming up through the floor. I was like, oh, it's in my mind.
We're losing you a little bit, Jeffrey.
Say again?
We're losing you a little. Just talk close to your mic, maybe.
There you go.
There we
Can
go.
you hear me better now?
Yes, great.
Sorry about that. I was trying to... So anyway, the water was coming up and I wanted to get in touch with what this was showing me. And yeah, I've been facing this false responsibility in my mind that you spoke about. And we have a shared friend that has left. He was staying with me for a while, but he gets very close to suicide. And even though I know I can't help him, I still want to. And recently it got to the point where he wrote a will out and handed it to me and took a knife and pills and said, I'm going to the field. And all I said was, I love you, you know? There's just still this desire that I want to help him. So I really want to hear what everyone's been saying this weekend and yeah, let go of this belief that I am responsible and that I can consciously direct, you know, and I'm given so many symbols of the ones that are open and that react or that reflect this, and I still choose to try to help certain ones. And so if nothing else, I just wanted to speak it so that you knew where I was at, David and Francis and everyone else. Yeah, I had a good cry since Ula shared, and then Wesley, and after the second chosen yesterday. So hopefully the water will stop coming up out of the ground now that it's coming out of me. So I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Yeah, you probably remember the last time, one of the times we were recently together was when we went down to Brazil, and we stayed with our friend down there, and then after we left, all the pipes broke in the rooms where we were staying, and the pipes just burst and blasted up through the floors, and water was everywhere. And I think it's the same symbol that, you know, it's on one hand it's an allowance to cry the tears of the false pursuits we've had in the world, you know, to let the emotions come. I think I went through, I don't know how many years, a lot of years where I felt like I was crying for the whole universe. I seemed to be crying all the time, and it just went on and on and on. And thankfully I had my dog Chipper to be there to lick my face for those years. in the basement. So I was down in the basement where I would allow them all to come up, and then Chipper would lick. But that's part of it. And then when we see the water coming, that's such a symbol of the living water, of the Spirit, how much the Spirit loves us. It just can come up through our structures and through the structures of thought and belief that we've tried to interpose and to place in between our Father's love for us, which is so great. It's so vast. And sometimes I just marvel, even when I come back to the first workbook lesson of the Course, nothing I see means anything. It reminds me that it's all dismantling, it's all combusting for the purification to come to know the light. It's all taking away all the things that we felt responsible for, that we had to put such an effort in, responsible for people. And what you brought up, that's one of the most basic ones. When we have somebody that has expressed suicidal thoughts, then that responsibility just wells up in us. I was even recently talking to Kirsten, and she's just been out there praying at the monastery with Jesus, and yet she had some interactions with her mother, and her mother was saying, well, it's, I think it's maybe time that I just lay the body aside. I think it's time. And Kirsten had the same feeling you had come up, was no, I'll do that. I can come to New Zealand. We can do this. We can make it through this, because in our minds we've so associated with life with the body, or life with even friendship, or life with companionship, and then there's something that's huge underneath it all, which is life itself, which is eternal life, that will never give up on us, will never turn away, will keep calling and sending those impulses, the call to return, the call to love. It's so strong, and thank God that it's there, that the call is so strong and it will never go away. But when it comes up, it's just that the ego reacts with no, but what about this? It always has some form of objection, and it's always strangely enough, it's in one form of false responsibility. Since Jesus has already told us the sole responsibility is to accept the atonement, He's laid it out, that there's some kind of a very deep correction for the whole cosmos in us, and that He will take us to that. He will take us to the portal. He will take us to the gateway. And so it's so beautiful, though, that we can join like this and remind each other of what we said yes to. When we said yes, it was an unequivocal yes. It was a yes without exceptions. It was a yes that will last forever. It was a yes that we said to God in our creation. Even Jesus tells us in the Course that when God created Christ, it wasn't a passive thing of like, gee, thanks. It was yes. It was Christ answered in the affirmative with the creation, like, I accept this glorious creation. And even though that's been pushed way out of awareness, even in this lifetime, we do realize when we said yes, something in us meant it to the core of our being. And now the ego is just, all it does is it tries to defend against this irreversible decision that we've made, this inevitable decision. So thank you for coming on, and just with Wesley and all of us, we're all in this together. Everyone is here for that same reason, to strengthen the remembrance of what we said yes to. Yeah. And yeah, we'll talk, and then also, yeah, what a visit. We'll look forward to the visit. And I guess too, Francis was telling me today too that Susanna's planning a trip up there and for like a devotional.
First to Reno, then maybe campus.
Yeah, perhaps there. Yeah, so we have many celebrations. We have many happy celebrations. Thank you, Jeffrey. And Esther.
It's perfect, David. You addressed so many answers to the questions that I have, and to stick with what Jeffrey and you talked about, saying that yes, to God. I feel we're making decisions, Alan and I, to get involved with the cryptocurrencies because we could work for the dollar as a job, working for the dollar, and the amount of money that's being printed by the government is just out. And the value of the dollar and with the cryptocurrencies. So the question is, the unworthiness that comes up in relationship with my mother when she says I love you, or the unworthiness that comes up when Alan asks me about how I can help him overcome his greed and thoughts about the cryptocurrencies. I never really, when the unworthiness arises, I am puzzled, so puzzled, and I don't know how to take the next step. And I kind of have a question about another aspect of this unworthiness, that if we're successful, when we are successful with the cryptocurrencies, Alan will be able to get out of debt. He'll be able to repay my mother. He'll be able to support any projects that I have. He wants to support me. He's always wanted to support me. And I feel like the yes to God is so much more important with regard to any decisions that I help make. And one other aspect of this is that my mom said to me today that she feels she can't live alone. And the attitude that I have now is listen, follow what's given to help her with assuage her fears if it's possible, and just go with what she has made as a choice in her mind, to honor that. So I'm really stepping back from any attachments that may come up, but this little niggling unworthiness, I want to know. I know that when I look and I step back from it, I see that what I am is not involved. And I'm not doing that looking, it's just occurring always. If you can guide me with regard to this whole picture of me, Alan, my mom, our fate, our destiny together, and being open to a new paradigm from being poor to helping whoever needs it financially. Because we both, our mission, like our relationship has always been, and there was one other aspect that Alan and I both expressed to one another, that if either one of us had disappeared before the other, there would be tremendous suffering, possibly, or be confronted with the emptiness of the prospect. And this is all hypothetical, and so you really can't be prepared for anything like that, I would say, and just stick with the yes, because that saying that Jesus channeled from you the other time was that no matter the curriculum or the teacher, I'm here to know thyself. And the confusion is, how do I do that with regard to cryptocurrencies?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll try to answer all aspects of that question. With regard to your mother and what she is believing and what she's calling for, is the line from the Revolver movie at the end of the movie that Avi tells Jake Green, give him what he asked for. I'm sure he'll be very happy. And already in this beautiful retreat, we've seen Christina up there at Alaska, who thought for a while she would teach her mother the Course, her Catholic mother, and then she ended up praying the Rosary with her mother, and oh, it was so beautiful. So with your mother, it's give her what she's truly asking for, beyond the form. This is your curriculum for awakening. This is your opportunity to give truly from your heart and to surrender to Jesus, and who knows the way and knows just the words. But it will come through in a way that a behavior, a set of words that your mother's eyes will sparkle and a big smile will come on her face, and you will know that you've given her truly what she's asking for. And your mother is part of this opportunity to not be afraid of love. That's how it has to happen for us in time and space. We have to go toward that which we fear. We have to go toward that opportunity that we have sometimes avoided or hesitated with. You know, this opportunity with your mother is a huge opportunity to have that prayer in your heart and let it be shown. And there's so many great movies. There was a movie, House of Cards, where a mother had I think it was autistic child, and it was Kathleen Turner, I think, played the lead in that. And even though the doctors and everybody told her her child was unreachable, she had the prayer and the faith to let go of all of her ideas about her autistic son and join him. She literally zoomed into his world, his perception, by letting the Spirit take her. And that brought the healing. It was only the Spirit that could bring that healing. And in terms of Alan and the issues that you face around finances, and Alan talking about help me with my greed, and it's like the ego has projected this unworthiness and this lack out into the whole world. So it's set up a world of currencies. It's set up a world of supply and demand. It's set up a world of like stock markets and stock exchanges, and has many people around the world watching ticker tape all day long. What's rising, what's falling in terms of stocks and bonds and currencies. And so with the cryptocurrency, it seems like something that is a guided thing for you, but you can't let the cryptocurrency become the savior. Because, if you set it up and you look with the ego's lens, it will tell you that you need to write it out and you need to make a lot of money with the cryptocurrency, and that will solve all the problems. And that's the way the ego set this world up. Chasing fiction and fantasy with the belief that my day will come, and there will be a day where all the debts can get paid off, and your mother can get paid back the money, and Alan's fears and insecurities and greed around money will disappear. And inside you is the answer to all of it. You have inside of you the answer to every conceivable problem and every conceivable situation. And the only way that you can know the answer is to give it away. So every time you interact with Alan, you have a chance to give the strength and the certainty of this answer. And with your mother, you have the opportunity to give it with full strength and certainty and clarity. And that's how we finally accept it for ourselves, is by giving it to one brother who we thought was different. It totally comes, everything comes clear if we do it with one brother. We see one brother, one sister without the past. We, for one time in our life, we give it all, with no hesitation, no reserve. We don't hold anything back. And then we receive the gift that we give. So you're onto it. You're aware of the way that the ego is trying to trick you. It's emphasizing the finances. And the reason it's doing that is because it's going to emphasize a financial cure. And then it will complicate that by saying, oh, the United States is printing too much money. Oh, look at that. Did you see that? The value of the dollar is going down. Better turn on the Elon Musk channel and and hear a pep talk. I think he just hosted Saturday Night Live. I think they told me Dogcoin went down during that presentation on Saturday Night Live. But if you're into the whole game with the cryptocurrency, you just have to have some kind of a light jingle to come into your mind that makes you laugh. So I'm going to take a song, She Works Hard for the Money. I'm going to change the lyric. She works hard for the crypto, so hard for the crypto. Esther works hard for the crypto, so you better treat her right. Just sing that song the next time you start to feel guilty and unworthy. Just remember that playful, happy song, that song that's of laughter and joy, and that is sometimes that's the way to get over that fear. To have some kind of a fun little jingle, something that's kind of poking fun at the whole game, and then you take it less seriously. I mean, I've had some times where I've seen somebody in the darkest, deepest time, in the darkest hour, their dark night of the soul, and then somebody burst into a song, and they just burst into laughter. They go from the dark night of the soul into laughing with one mighty companion singing a song. Because that happy song is just a reminder, don't take this world so seriously. And Jesus is, of course, our way shower. He always has that lightness and softness and gentleness and humor to remind us that this world is not our home and we need not take any of it seriously. So thank you. I always love your heartfelt sharings and questions, and you're always really asking the relevant things, the cryptocurrency, Alan, the debt, your mother, you're working it. You're working there right where the ego doesn't want you to go. You're going. Thank you. Well, on that note, we can say that we would like to play a video about the present moment. So I think that's one thing we all can appreciate. And we love you so dearly, so enjoy. We're going to enjoy this little video of the present moment, and we hope you enjoy it. We hope it just rings in your heart. That's where your freedom is. So God bless you. Let go of your past associations and let present trust direct the way. If you stay fully present and you let go of all past references and past associations, if you let go of all concerns and worries about the future, all future planning, and you give it all over to the Spirit will take you more and more into the gateway of the present moment, which is the gateway to eternity or to the kingdom of heaven. It's like dropping deeper and deeper and deeper into a place of perfect safety, perfect care, perfect security. And how amazing this journey is to know that you can drop in and become so present that all that remains is God's divine presence. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.